There is a silence in the soul that remembers. Before the lines were drawn and the compass spun for conquest, there was only Africa, a sanctuary of origins, a vast, undivided spirit. This was the cradle. This was the wholeness. Then came the rupture. The violent geometry of colonization sliced the map and scattered the seed. Across the world, Africans were forced to build fortunes not their own, carrying the ache of the ancestor beneath new names and foreign flags. For 400 years, the soul kept knocking. The question, passed down through generations, remained. What if the true North Star is always set on home? Now, the echo is too loud to ignore. The time for just remembering is over. The time for returning has arrived.
I was sitting and reading while I was at a work event, and just kind of, I know I was looking at some books and things of that nature during the breaks between serving people and kind of talking. It was a marketing event. And I suddenly had Namibia in my mind, like I needed to go and research. And I took a break. I went to my car, had lunch, and started searching on my phone. And during that searching, I found so many unique things that let me know that there was something spiritual and magical about Namibia. And it sounds so funny to say out loud, but I did have this kind of moment of realizing there's something about this place.
Yeah.
Are those strawberries?
No, these are peppers. So at this point, what I recognize is, you know, there's a moment in some people's lives, if you start tapping into something greater than yourself, you can connect to a calling. And I had a calling to Namibia. And that calling for me is ancestral, is understanding that there's so much for me to learn, but there's an ancestral connection here, a feeling that this is where I belong and this is where I should stay and this is where my children should be raised. And that connection is deep and it's beautiful.
I had seen a video about Namibia, which was very interesting and compelling, about some spiritual, mysterious things about Namibia that were really compelling. And so I put Namibia on my radar, but I wanted to go to Uganda because my friend was there, and that would have been an easier transition, having somebody that you know and trust. And so I remember I was supposed to come visit Africa for 2 weeks. And so I booked a ticket to Uganda, and I booked a ticket from Uganda to Namibia. So I was gonna go to Uganda for like a few days, a week or so, then travel to Namibia for a few days to check it out, then go back to Uganda to my friend, and then back to the US. And when I was supposed to board the flight to go to Uganda, I mean, I thought I was told I would be able to get a visa on arrival, but they wouldn't let me board the plane. So here I am in the airport with my 2 suitcases, couldn't board this plane, like tears in my eyes, like just so disappointed that I couldn't go to Uganda. And so I ended up not making the flight. And then the following day I was feeling really down and depressed and spoke to my wife, and she was like, well, you know, you think that Namibia is the place where we're gonna ultimately end up anyway. You know, you had always said that Uganda would be the first destination, but we were going to end up in Namibia anyway, you know, because of the things I had seen, the spiritual things I had seen, the interesting things I had seen. And so she said, why not just go to Namibia directly? And so within 30 minutes, I was online, booked a ticket to Namibia, and the next day I was on a flight to Namibia.
The history of Namibia stretches back millennia, recorded in the oldest desert on Earth, the Namib. Before the world knew its name, it was home to resilient, diverse cultures: the San, the Damora, the Nomo, and the Poo nations of the Herero and the Wombo. These indigenous peoples mastered survival in an arid environment, forging a deep and complex sovereignty across the territory. The 19th century brought European intervention, culminating in 1884 with the declaration of German South-West Africa. This was a brutal occupation, marked by massive land theft and, devastatingly, the Herero and Nomoko genocide between 1904 and 1908. This tragedy is a fundamental, sorrowful chapter in the nation's history. Decades of relentless fighting and diplomatic pressure finally delivered freedom. On March 21, 1990, the Republic of Namibia achieved full independence. Today, Namibia stands as one of Africa's most stable democracies, committed to conservation and unity. Its history is a powerful, inspiring testament to the resilience of a people who fought for and won their right to define their own future. This hard-won sovereignty is the foundation upon which all new chapters are now being written. This is Namibia, the land of the brave.
When we came to visit Namibia a couple years back, we stayed in the self-catering accommodation that had really excellent customer service. They had a driver that could take us places in the shuttle. And we had planned to go and visit a specific place where they had properties available. And we had been there for a little while now. So the people that worked there, they had gotten to know us and they knew a little bit about who we were and could kind of gauge where we might best fit in. So when they saw where we had booked ourselves to go in the shuttle, they made a comment and said, you know what, I think you might want to go somewhere else. And they gave us a contact of someone that we could reach out to that would show us housing that was what they felt a better fit for us because they had an idea of who we were. When we came to do the tour with the person that they had referred us to, the very first house that he took us to was the house. We walked in and we felt like it was perfect for us. It was family friendly. It was actually owned by someone who had a couple of small kids around the same age as our kids. So they thought of the things that we would have thought of when they were putting the house together and setting things up. So it was a perfect experience thanks to the Namibian family that was renting that accommodation and redirected us because otherwise we might have left without knowing where we might live.
All right, good shot. All right, Bray. Good job.
We lived in an HOA back in the US in a suburb. You know, it was pavement, houses. You weren't allowed to have chickens. You weren't allowed to grow fruit trees in your front yard. Like, they had all these restrictions. So I wanted to come somewhere where I could grow my own food, have my own animals, have a farm, be away from the city and the noise. As soon as we saw this plot and this specific plot, this house, we fell in love. And like, I liked it, my wife liked it, the kids liked it. And it was the first place that we had seen that we all unanimously said, oh yeah, this is the land, this is the plot.
When we came here, I think it was a big deal. The people who we bought from, they took very good care of the land and they put a lot of effort into growing trees and growing fruit trees. So when we came, it was a big deal for us at the time. At the time, we're getting a bit more rain now, but when we first came, you guys were in proper drought. A lot of places that we went to, it was just dry and barren. And when we came up here, we saw fruit trees, a variety of fruit trees. We saw the pomegranates, we saw the figs, the peaches. And I think that opened it up. It was a moment of hope.
Whenever you're from the African diaspora, you know, in the States, or if you're in the Caribbean islands, or wherever you are in Europe, you know, you've lost a lot, right? You've lost. You don't have a mother's tongue. You don't have a connection to a tribe. You know, if you're from the U.S., your last name is given to you from your captivity, from your slave master. You don't have that connection to it. And by all intents and purposes, you're thinking of yourself as American, though the American experience has always let you know that you're not really an American the way other people are American, right? And the more you look back into your history, you also start to realize, like, you know, the way this has gone and the way this has started is not great. It's not good. So for us, I think one of the things that I think challenged us the most was, and anybody who's looking at the continent, is, well, where do you go?
A few years ago, before any of this, before Africa, before COVID, before anything, we had done a DNA thing, Ancestry DNA. And so I uploaded my DNA to another site called My True Ancestry. And when I uploaded my DNA to that site, what most ancestry sites do, they compare your DNA to modern populations. So Nigeria, Ghana, blah, blah, blah. These countries that only came around in the 18th century after the Berlin Conference, right? But what My True Ancestry does, it compares your DNA to ancient archaeological digs and populations. And for the first time in my life, I saw the word Khoisan. And I didn't know who the Khoisan were or whatever, but it was in my DNA. So fast forward to 2021, 2022, here I am in Namibia, and I'm seeing Khoisan people. And I'm like, oh, I'm related to these people.
This is baby Dapewa. She was born here in Namibia, and we chose to give her part of her name, a Namibian name. So she's got some Namibian naming from one of our neighbors who helped us find a Oshiwambo name for her. And it means she is given. One of the biggest questions that we get asked is, how was it coming to Namibia with children, and how do we educate them? What is it like here? So having kids here in Namibia is easy to me, it's easier. People here are very kind to children, they're very accommodating. There are a lot of kids here. So we've been able to find a really great community group of friends. We are homeschool parents. We had chosen already in the US, we had already decided that we wanted to homeschool our kids up to a certain point so that they could get their core life experience with us, so we can train them up in the way that we want them to behave, as far as behaviorally, as far as their principles, what they believe in. We wanted them to learn how to be good people from us, and to have that kind of shielding in the beginning of their life, so that we are the core of the messages in their head versus whatever is in the school system. I've heard really great things about the schools here in Namibia, and we look forward to the time when my son, who's 6 right now, will eventually be going to school. For right now, we do homeschool. We have everyday activities that we do with them for reading and math. We have things that we look up to give them science understanding. The kids love being able to have that time with us. And then we also have a nanny that helps, and she does lessons with them too. So between me, dad, or the nanny that's in the house, somebody's going to give them some lessons each day and help them to progress every day with learning.
Take the buzzword challenge. Which sounds make up this word? Seal. Drag and drop the phonemes in order in the answer area.
There are pictures. We have pictures so we can see, and we do have artwork and like the clock that mean, you know, I know who gave me these pieces, and thinking about that, those people's love and investment in my life that has even crossed continents now, to give me a sense of stability, that when we're here, we're still home, because it's still, there is a sense of support that comes with having things like you said, you've brought from Jamaica.
they call it a lifestyle estate. So, you know, it's a little ways away from the city, but you can access the city. But what is unique here is that they have, you know, pharmacy, they have a corner store in the States, but here I think it would be like a, you know, a shop or a cooker shop, spaza shop, and a restaurant, which is nice because the kids like to get pizza there. And when we have guests over, we can just go to the restaurant. There's a school. It hasn't been opened since a little after COVID, but now it's going to be reopened. They just opened the kindergarten or the preschool. Then there's like a retirement village here that they're trying to get up and running. So they're trying to make everything in one little playscape or jungle gym for the kids by the restaurant. So it's nice.
So you just came home from church?
Yeah, I was the 8 o'clock most of the time, and then I just come back home in time for Sean. I had chicken Sean 9:30, so it does not. It had to take you to be, you know what, to be honest with you, but I make sure home by 9:55, so Sean can leave by 10 the latest.
Okay.
The thing that connects me most, is the internet, right? Being able to still have access to my family, especially, you know, back in Jamaica, to have that dialogue, to hear something as simple as hearing the accents of your people or your family. Yes, my husband has a similar accent, but you know, when you go out and you're interacting, you don't recognize sometimes how refreshing it is to hear the voices or the Jamaican accent come in. And we've met and we've become family and friends with Jamaicans here. And so we're very grateful for that. But having the internet to be able to still maintain relationships is a big deal.
All right, so you just take a few seeds, try to pat them into it. Try to pat the seeds in. When you're leaving a place that you've been for over 10 years of your life, it's definitely always hard because we've built relationships. We had trusted places that we went. I knew where I took my kids for entertainment. I knew where we liked to go to the movies. I had people that I went hiking with. I had people that I knew I could trust for various things in my life. I had people that I did business with. And to leave that and go somewhere and to know no one is always challenging.
I still have plates that may seem strange, but plates that my mother gave me when I was living in Jamaica. And I look at it now, and when I look at it and I use them, I do think of the support. She's not here physically, but I feel supported. And I feel like you have something to fall back on, and people who are sewing into your lives so that you can accomplish, stand, exist, in a new space.
I mean, if you think about breaking a generational curse, how about being the first since all that's happened to return back to the land of your ancestors, and then we come to Namibia, and we say, what is here for us, and we meet beautiful people. And it feels like home, so much so that when we came back to the States, we were happy to obviously to get back to our house, but the States felt dead. It didn't feel like alive, and you just kept having in our mind. We kept seeing that tall Namibian grass just like swaying in the distance, and it's just like, okay, we got to find a way to get back there. We have to. A lot's happened. There's 54 countries now. That's different than when we started off as when we first, our ancestors left the continent and came into the other places. So you've got 54 places that that you could choose. And for us, when we looked in the window of Namibia, it not only called the loudest, it was resounding.
I have a friend from Jamaica, high school, who had a YouTube channel where he was training for a triathlon to bring awareness about sickle cell, because he has sickle cell anemia. And I saw that, and I think it was on a Shabbat, and I just felt kind of a deposit in my spirit. Like, I want you to actually do a run from Walvis to Windhoek. It's gonna be a 400-kilometer run, and the 400 kilometers is gonna represent the 400 years of slavery, give or take, that occurred with Africans. And so I went and I searched Google Maps the distance from Walvis to Windhoek, and realized it was about 404 kilometers. So it was almost exact.
During the run, I'm probably gonna be running at all times, starting in the early morning when it's nice and cool. I'm gonna be running in the afternoon when it's hot, and depending on how much I can cover, I'm probably gonna be running in the evening to the night. Gonna be running in rain, in sun, shine, it doesn't matter. And so what I do now is, I run in the morning sometimes. Like this morning I ran very early, 5:30. Sometimes I run in the afternoon in the hot sun. And many times I run at night, sometimes 10, 11, 12 o'clock, I run around the yard. So now it's raining. Doesn't matter, I still have to go out and train. Again, because this run is gonna be happening during all these conditions, and I have to make sure that I acclimatize my body to those conditions. So yeah, it doesn't matter what the weather brings, we have to push, we have to keep going. Yeah.
When you start becoming part of this community of descendants of enslaved Africans who are trying to return back to the continent, you not only start meeting people who have already been on the continent, be it Namibia or in other countries, or you start to understand the dynamics of what makes it challenging. One of the biggest challenges is just there really is not a pathway to abode long term, except for a few countries. I think Ghana's one of them. Bidin just put together a citizenship by ancestry, but there's nothing specific for folks who are looking to return to the continent because their bloodline was once here. And that's challenging.
I think that right now it's very transactional, meaning as we are coming back, it's okay, you're coming back as an investor. What can you bring to our country? How much money are you bringing? What kind of business are you going to open? What kind of expertise are you bringing? So it's very transactional right now, which is fine. It's at least a door or a pathway that we can come in through. But I think it needs to move beyond that. It needs to be, hey, you're family and you want to come back home, welcome. And I'm hoping that more people can become aware, that the people in general can become aware of who the diaspora is, and not just the people in Africa, but the people in the diaspora, because there are many who don't think about Africa.
Okay, so in order to renew our visa, we had to do financials for companies. So when we got the visa, we actually established a business here, the DIPA. And so we needed to provide financials for the last 2 years. We had to be motivation letters for both of us as to why we want to remain in Namibia. We had to have good tax withstanding, employment, equity commission certificate, just to make sure that we're hiring equitably. These are the application funds for the visa renewal, power of attorney for our agents, and what else? We had to do a business progress report on the progress of our current business, even how many people we have employed, along with the financials. So we included an annex for contributions and future plans for the business, and that was as well as a cover letter. Yeah, so that's basically it. The taxes for the company, social security.
There's everything that basically says that we have a business, it's established, and you're in good standing and we're compliant with all of the regulations that we need to.
We also had to submit bank statements as well as educational background, so copies of a degree and company profile, resume, all these things to make sure that we're bringing skills required and desired in Namibia. What was that process?
If you have the impending situation of a visa renewal, not knowing whether it's going to be renewed or not, you're a little bit more hesitant to invest more. You know, we want to buy some more chickens to produce more eggs. Okay, let's wait until this visa is renewed before we put this money in, because we don't know what's going to happen. And we don't want to have one more thing to have to sell or liquidate so that we can go somewhere else if we are, you know, kicked out of the country, so to speak.
We have currently about 80 to 90 chickens, and they're producing a few crates a week, which we've been selling. And we're going to be ramping up production very soon. So we hope to go up to about 300 chickens. And right now we're busy building out the boxes for the chickens to lay in. And then at some point we have a couple of interested investors. We're going to actually expand to 1,000 chicken house where we can really ramp up production and sell a lot more eggs. We also have our sheep and goats. We actually have a customer that we're going to be providing a sheep for tomorrow. So we're going to be preparing the carcass, getting it ready and delivering it to them maybe Monday or Tuesday. So yeah, we're actually trying to transition now from just being a small homestead to actually doing commercial farming and earning income from it. So yeah.
We had the second annual African Diaspora Investment Tour Business Leadership Forum here in Namibia. This event is one of the best things that we were a part of. I mean, we invite Namibian entrepreneurs and business people to connect with the African diaspora, both in the Caribbean and in the United States, here in Namibia, to talk about business, investing, partnership, and really how we can pay for the future of African investment. So it was incredible, and again, it's one of these things where when you get a chance to do something like this, you the rest of the day you're just reflecting back on how amazing it was to be around such beautiful people and such timely topics and important topics.
So we initially started this event just as something to include with our Western diaspora guests who come. So we have a event called the Diaspora Tour, and people come out to learn about Namibia. And we thought, what better way to introduce them to Namibia than to invite them to a meeting with Namibians to talk about how they can partner together. So from there, we actually found out from Namibians that they found incredible value in being a part of that, and we're starting to be offered opportunities to partner with others to start doing this event more frequently. People want to see more of this kind of event here in Namibia, and they don't care if there's Americans coming or not. They actually just want to be a part of it. So we're going to actually start growing what we do and evolving this to become not just an annual thing when our diaspora guests are here, but even creating a version of this event that helps to enrich the lives of our entrepreneurial Namibians who just love the opportunity to gather and support one another.
There's $2.4 trillion, which is a lot of money and spending power by the diaspora, but it requires us to do things. We're not like a wealthy group of people who have this generations of accumulated assets. We probably got to sell a house to be able to invest in the continent. And if we do, then we sell a house, but we only have a 2-year visa. The vulnerability there for someone of the diaspora is insurmountable. You either are driven by something greater than investment, be it spiritual, maybe it's the Most High, whatever it is. But for most people, it's too much of a risk. It costs a lot to get to Africa. You think about it, every time I'm on a 36-hour travel to get to Namibia, I think about that, right? 36 hours. I know that sounds crazy, right? But with your layovers and, lack of direct flights, it's 15 hours just across the Atlantic. So, for most people, that's going to be a 3,000-4,000 USD flight. And then you need hotel, and you've got to have money to get around.
I believe that we can come up with a solution where we can have African diaspora specific immigration policies to where it's an easier pathway for families that want to come back to just make sure we can prove that we're not, criminals. You do a background check as needed to make sure we're not bad people coming into your country. 2, make sure that we have the financial means to support ourselves and to invest. And once we prove that, we need a minimum, I would say, of at least 5 years. Especially given the difference in how things work here and how long it takes to do things, how long it takes to establish the business, how long it takes to do anything, to be honest with you. And again, it's not that one is bad and one is good, it's just different. But because of that difference, we need more time. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges for me, is just the time period and the lack of confidence in investing more because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so when we were doing the research for this work, one thing we realized is that the largest economy in the continent of Africa is with this diaspora. That's about 150 million people who can trace their ancestry back to the transatlantic or the Arab slave trade. And together they account for almost $2.4 billion or trillion dollars in economic spending power, and they're outside of the continent. And so there's a tremendous opportunity for the continent to welcome back its diaspora. Many people want to return, they just need a clear pathway to do so. And if so, just bringing in 30% of that fundamentally changes the economy for all African nations. It really changes what's possible, because in all that happens there is just simply bringing back or restoring what was lost. So it's a tremendous opportunity, and we talk extensively about this in the book.
Namibia has the potential to become a continental leader in diasporas and reintegrations and also economic empowerment. As we see now, Namibian diasporas are seeking to reconnect to their mother's land, roots, and cultural heritage. There is a need of an adoptions, a law, or to reform a policy that can allow the returnees or the diaspora returnees to come back and invest into their country. that can also help the Namibian diaspora to come and have a long-term residence in their own country, to open ways of working closely with the government and also the local communities to empower the Namibian youth so that they can build the Namibian economy by investing our own production, by growing businesses in a way of empowering the young Namibian.
We are one of the gates to anything moving in the world here, to our partners that are landlocked, you know? We saw what Madam President did with Botswana's president. Simple things like that. You see, Africans are now coming together, but we still need the help of our brothers and sisters that are on the other side of the world.
They are seeking for potential in their homeland so that they can invest. Now, if this person comes here only for 3 years, there's an incident that happened recently. One of our diaspora sisters came here. He has invested $6 million in a project of a school here in Windhoek. But after 6 months, the permit has expired. She has to go back, leaving the project here with nobody monitoring or running it. She has invested that huge money here, but she has left. But if she was allowed to stay here, she can still continue to invest in other projects or to empower the young people.
So I would say, I can't speak for other groups, but for us as Africans, as members of the diaspora, and I may be jumping ahead of the gun, we want to come back home to the continent. We want to come back home to Africa.
And it's a little different for us. I think in all that's happened to our people, be it enslavement and also the colonialization, things have changed, and it's no clear way to be back. I know a lot of people who are really fighting to get something more permanent. You know, most of the time it's 60 to 90 day visitor visas, and then people didn't have to leave the country. Or sometimes there are investment or employment visas, but it's not always clear what the criteria are. They're only for a couple of years, and the type of investment that someone, say, from the African diaspora would do. When I look at Namibia and I put on my business hat, you know, and not just my spiritual hat, I see nothing but tremendous opportunity. People think Namibia is a small country because it has maybe 3.3 million people. But the reality is that just 10 years ago, it was at 2 million. It's like almost a 57% increase in population. And that's right in line with what's happening, you know, throughout all of Africa. And what that tells me is that the market is growing. There's going to be many more people who need education, many more people who need housing, many more people who need, road infrastructure, technological advances that help, for instance, get all of this well water that we have, or underground water, into the villages, things of that nature, like real opportunities to solve real problems, and it's only going to grow. I was just in a town in Erenos, and when I was driving through the town, mostly everyone I saw was children, or young teenagers. And you know what that tells me is that, you know, in 5 to 10 years they're going to have children, and that's just going to be exponential. It's easy to see Namibia reaching 6 to 7 million people in just 15 years at the rate that Africa's growing. And the question then becomes, you know, how do we serve 7 million people? How do we expand our economy? And the way that we're constructed right now, we're just not in a position to do that. We've got to start thinking about that now so that we're prepared for it tomorrow, now when it gets here. And these are areas where I think bringing home the diaspora to open up solutions and bring in capital. And here's the biggest part, partner with Namibians who already know some of the challenges could fundamentally change Namibia's economy and really SADC and the entire continent in and of itself. And so, our company is focused on trying to figure out how to do that and introduce that to the right people, be it, the continentally in the country of Namibia or abroad, as many of the African diaspora look to come back and return back to the land of their ancestors.
Rich nation, man. You know what it is. This one out here goes to my lost brothers and sisters. Oh, African descendants. I know. You started around in this universe. My lost African descendants. Konganda.